Salutes to everybody. Much love and respect. This is your host, Key Norfolk. This is the Nation One Love podcast show. Tonight's stream is Mindset Mondays, Escaping the Matrix. When it comes to this matrix system that we're in, we have to realize that the matrix system that we're in is not a physical construct. Even though this matrix system affects us in our physical reality, that's because the matrix system has been built inside of the minds of the people. I like to call it muddying the waters. I talk a lot about us being compatible with life and nature. We're living in what's called a simulation because it is actually a manifested destiny. We have certain laws, policies, and ideas that were put forth upon us by the so-called forefathers of this nation, of this matrix system that we're living in. And in order for us to escape this matrix system that we're living in, we have to first do this internally. We have to first understand that this is just a figment of our imagination. Every time we hear about the matrix system, they always say that the matrix is not real. We're basically living inside of an invisible gate with invisible barriers that affects us in this real world. Why? Because the people who are in control, the powers that be that are in control, are constantly advertising to their adversaries. And as long as we continue to sell out or buy into the system, we will continue to be inside of this matrix construct. That is the only way for us to escape the matrix, for us to change our mindsets, our mind patterns. And they talk about now us going into a 5D state of mind. We have to get back to life in nature. We got things like AI, artificial intelligence. The more that we accept artificial intelligence, the more that we buy into artificial intelligence, the more we will excel inside of this matrix system that we want to escape. All of these things were ideas, government policies, ways of living, our ways of eating, the way we view the government system. All of these things were ideas. So these things have been planted upon the subconscious. We are actually manifesting the destiny of our oppressors by buying into these systems. It's like the waters. When I spoke about muddying the waters, we're trying to make sense out of our physical reality and compare it to this matrix system. The waters will be the ethereal waters or astral waters. This is not a physical thing. So even when we speak about other worlds, when we speak about other realities, we are solely speaking about dimensions of the mind. There are not any other planets or worlds where you are a basketball player in another world, the president in another world, or a rapper in another physical world. These will be aspects of the mind. So we have to learn to train the mind to get back to life, to get back to nature. The problem is that man has become so bored with life that we're always on a quest. We reached an age of quests that has taken us out of our original state. We are only not our original selves because we are now not compatible with life and nature. Because man has got bored with life and began to bow the ring once man got bored, That's what took us on this backward spiral. This is the spiritual warfare. This is why we're trapped inside of this matrix system. Please like, share, and subscribe. Support the channel. This is why we're trapped inside of this matrix system. Now, tonight, we're going to be talking about the matrix system and what the matrix system is. Okay. Now, the matrix, they have a matrix theory. It refers to philosophical ideas. Now, this is the simulation hypothesis, right? Suggesting our reality is an AI created simulation. Well, I'm going to actually bring you more clarity when it comes to this simulation theory or aspect, okay? Because it's simulated in the mind. We all have a subconscious. Our subconscious is our notepad for our creativity. This would be the mother of our mind. Our conscious mind is the father of our mind. We're supposed to be using our conscious mind to impregnate our subconscious mind so that it may deliver our inner workings. But because we have so many distractions and interactions with advertisement and the world around us, our subconscious is being imprinted by the world around us, and that's what's causing us to be trapped inside of this matrix system. Okay. Philosophical concepts of illusion. um this is a view of consciousness as a matrix. So a lot of people want to look at a physical place or physical reality when these things are happening inside of the mind. The only physical thing that we have to deal with is this life that we're living it right now. All right. And actual mathematical random matrix theory used in physics and computer science. So really it's a blend of sci-fi concepts about simulated worlds, deeper philosophical ideas about perception, and real mathematical tools describing complex systems. So we can start to begin to see how the mind works. Once we have planted these thoughts or ideas inside of our subconscious mind, the collective consciousness will then bring these things forth, and we can see results, just like we see the results of this matrix system that we're living in today. What are the core ideas of the simulation hypothesis? We might be living in a hyper realistic computer simulation created by a more advanced civilization. And I like to say that salutes to my sister Katrina. Salute. Much love and respect. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Please like, share, and subscribe. Support the channel. Now, real life connection to the simulation hypothesis. Um, uh, physicists have explored this, suggesting advanced AI could make such simulations indistinguishable from reality, leading to questions about our own reality's nature. And that's what I was speaking about in the beginning of this stream. We can't look for physical places. And like I said, you can't. Now, in your mind, there is a ratio of outcomes whenever you attempt to do a thing. There's things on the right side that could have happened in a positive nature. There's things on the left side that could have happened in a negative nature. But we need to understand the concepts of the mind. We need to overstand the concepts of the mind. We need to overstand the functions of the conscious mind. We need to overstand the concepts of the subconscious mind. Now we're getting into 3D, 4D, and 5D aspects of the mind. This is where these things lie. This is where these things are real inside of the mind. And this could be another trick from the powers that be, because we get these concepts about other worlds and other places being physical. But these are all just concepts of the mind. And I want us to make that clear. Okay. This is why we are being thrown off track when it comes to this physical reality. We can't seem to catch up because we are just stringing along the paths of the powers that be. Okay. Now, consciousness as the matrix. All the matrix is consciousness. But like I said, once the collective consciousness agrees to, we have to agree to this on a collective conscious. We've all agreed to the political system. We've all agreed to the social construct of work, education, a way of life. We've all agreed to this. These are not natural ways of living. Actually, these are unnatural ways of living. So with that being said, we cannot find new ways to buy into this matrix system because that's going to cause an inversion. It's going to push us further inside of the matrix. The only way to escape the matrix is to go back to a natural state of living. And it's not that hard. We don't have to make it more complicated than it has to be. You know, we got to get away from the new ideas. We got to get away from these alien conspiracies. We got to get away from using AI. Okay. Now, this is a branch of mathematics describing patterns and systems with many random variables like energy levels in atomic nuclei or even bus traffic. Now, this is where they start to manipulate the D-string theory. And I've recently come to the conclusion that they don't even really need the CERN machine to do this. All they need to do is advertise their target destination to the media. If they advertise this massively to the media and we buy into it, that changes our reality. We're then forced into a situation because majority rules, and we all know that they have their tricks in what they're actually calling the majority when it comes down to guiding us towards their destination. Now, in essence, the matrix theory in real life spans from deep scientific modeling of randomness to profound philosophical questions about the nature of existence, all inspired by, films, news, and things of that nature. Now, what this system actually means, it refers to different structured ways of organizing things. Okay. I want to make that clear. The way we organize things inside of our mind, inside of the different dimensions of our mind. This is what the Masons are talking about when they talk about moving up the steps or going up higher degrees. Their degrees are only dimensions inside of the mind. There's nothing physical about this matrix system. We make it physical when we adopt these ideas and ideologies and we start to apply them in our real lives. And then laws are set upon us to where we have to follow the laws of this structure. That's what traps us inside of the matrix. Essentially is the framework that organizes elements, right? It's interconnected rows and columns for efficient processing like management or interaction, depending upon the content or the context of your ideas and thoughts. So this is why a lot of times when they push policies upon the people, they tend to push policies that you will see that is going to serve to your improvement, or they give you things to vote for or policies to uphold. And in the beginning, they will lure us in. These policies are going to be something that's going to be good for our people and our community. when in fact they're only luring us in to help push their agenda, because the power is with the people. We just need to have a firm understanding of what's actually taking place, and then we can manage things a little bit better. You know, organizational structure where this is with business. Now, this is how you could create a matrix structure with business. Now, in business, an organizational structure where employees report to one manager, right? Now, that's what's going on with the political system or the political structure that we have. They have a puppet or a president in place who is beneath many more powers. There are many more powers above this government, that play in the back, because they have this system set up and the people don't have a choice. We're looking for physical reasoning when there is no physical reasoning. So it's not a battle against flesh and blood. This is a spiritual battle. When you go see a psychiatrist and they saying that they dealing with your mind, psyche means spirit. This is a spiritual warfare. Your mindset is your spiritual set. Let's not get the two confused. Psyche and spirit are one of the same. Now, living in the matrix, believing our perceived reality is actually a simulated world. That's what living in the matrix is. We're living inside a simulation, not because this world is a computer program, not because what you call God is a coder, okay, or a person who builds computers, or this shit is all like psychological mind fucks when we get to talking about things like that. That's ignorant. So we got to be overstanding, right? We're believing that our perceived reality is actually a simulated world, because this simulated world has been implanted inside the minds of the people, and laws and policies have been put in place to keep us within bounds of this simulated reality that's been manifested inside the minds of the people. The computer generated think about the Matrix movie, where humans are unknowingly plugged in and controlled. See, we got to understand that we're unknowingly plugged in and controlled. Why? Because of our mindsets, our mind frames, and these policies that I keep talking about. They can mean being trapped in, a controlled life full of illusion and predetermined roles. Why? Because all of these laws and policies and the guidelines of this construct that we live in were all ideas inside of the minds of men. These were ideas inside of the minds of men to implicate to the people to keep themselves in power and to make the people more susceptible to being slaves. So now they don't have to have physical slaves in chains on plantations. Once we change our mindsets to accept slavery, this is slavery of the mind. This is what the matrix system is all about. Now, this full illusion and predetermined roles is predetermined roles because we learn predetermined roles in society when we go into school. And in order to avoid these illusions and predetermined roles, we need to wake up to the true reality. It's a concept tied to the simulation hypothesis. It leaves people questioning if our existence is a sophisticated program or a philosophical idea about breaking free from social conditioning and illusions. These are all just dimensions of the mind, my people. Now, humans, what so-called humans, I really don't like that word, right? But every people are living in a fake simulated world. You see, it's not created by machines. We think that it's created by machines. It's created by the people in power, the people who place these invisible chains and gates around our reality to keep themselves in power. It's a pyramid scheme. That's why the pyramid is on the back of the dollar. That's why the all-seeing eye is above the pyramid, and there's bricks in between the pyramid all the way to the bottom. The eye is those at the top to keep watch and to keep the laws and policies intact, to keep the structure of this pyramid system. The bricks are there to keep people bound inside of the system. So people are giving social structure. What gives you social structure? Being a part of the pyramid scheme. So people want to look at, I want to be a Democrat. I want to be a Republican. I want to be a Mason. I want to be this or that. All of these are structures inside of this matrix system, which upholds the matrix system. People are unknowingly on a quest to figure out what they're seeking is not true. Because to give power to this matrix system is to oppress one's own self. So why should the powers that be have to physically contain a slave when the slave was designed to contain himself? This is an incarceration of the mind. Okay? This was designed to keep people docile. Why you really power the world, this matrix system. Everything is food. And they give us these illusions of how much money we have or how free we are in this world. When the higher your position, the higher power that they're ciphering from you to keep this world intact that they've created with this matrix system. Now, waking up from this matrix system would mean taking the red pill, realizing that all of this shit is an illusion and choosing to see the harsh, true reality, breaking free from this simulation's control. But this is going to be a hard task to do when we're constantly trying to figure out ways to be comfortable inside of this simulation. If you're inside of a prison, I've been to prison. There was no way that I was going to get comfortable inside of prison. I had to get the fuck out. I didn't get comfortable. I got out. And that should be what we should be trying to do. Now figure out a way to get comfortable. Now figure out a way to bring the people together to be more comfortable inside of this construct, because that's not going to get us outside of the construct. That's going to put us in a more comfortable position inside of the construct. And that's not making the powers that be mad. That's what they want. That's exactly what they want. Now, mindless conformity. This living in this matrix can describe a life where people follow social norms, work, jobs, and consume media without questioning if it's meaningful or authentic. But we got to realize that we're dealing with soulless beings. If you want to keep up the computer talk, we're dealing with those that have external hard drives because they do not possess internal hard drives. That would be us, the oppressed people, those with souls. And to keep us from using our internal hard drives and being able to be compatible with nature, we are advertised to, we are shown, the vices and the effects of having an external hard drive. The external hard drive will be the policies that are in place. The external hard drive will be artificial intelligence. Things that are put in place to drive us all towards the center part of the New World Order. That's what that's all about. So It's about seeing past distractions, finding deeper meanings, and making conscious choices rather than living on autopilot. And that's why they gave us the script. They gave us the script so that we could continue to live on autopilot while they continue to put their plans in place. Um, is reality real? Reality's real. This world is real. But the concept about being in this world but not of it, this is exactly why that concept was put there. Because this idea is supported by thinkers like people who suggest our universe could be an advanced computer simulation, similar to the film's premises that showed us that, the Matrix movie, with the same belief in the odds favor for this. So that's another trick too, because that takes us out of the concept of our mind to where we can change that. See, instead of telling us that these are ideas and policies that have been implanted inside of our mind that's been advertised to us, they'll just tell us that the whole world is a simulation. The dude you was calling God, oh yeah, he's just a computer programmer. He's a coder, you know, making this thing all more technological. And that's what we need to be getting away from, rather running it to a more technological uh, explanation. That's going to keep us away from nature. We need to get back to nature. We need to be learning how to feed ourselves. We need to be learning how to create our own shelter structures. We need to be learning how to deliver our own babies so that we can keep poison out of them. We need to be learning how to maintain our health system so we're not being medicated. We're not being healed, we're being medicated. So we got to start thinking on what's going to keep us natural, not looking at what's the new thing that's coming out on TV. What's the new policy that's putting out? What's the new technology? Because we think that's advancing us in life. It's advancing us toward a new world order. It's advancing us toward their life, but it's taking us away from our original state. So we got to be able to recognize these type of things, because if we're talking about breaking the matrix system, then that's the only way to escape the matrix system. We can't get bigger inside of this matrix construct. We can't get more comfortable inside of this matrix construct. We can't take over the matrix construct and start running it, because why? We're going to do the same thing that needs to be done to maintain the matrix system. The system not broken. The system's running just fine. The system just was never designed for you and I. That's the issue with this matrix system. Now people want to, talk about glitches in the matrix system too. Um, People sometimes point to strange coincidences or odd phenomena as patterns or bugs in our reality's code. Well, that all depends on what we're talking about. Because if we've been given a script, and if there's millions of people following the same script and we're all expecting the same things, when summertime comes, we expect it to be what? Hot. They even threw off the course of time. So summertime ain't even summertime no more. So sometimes you may see cold weather in the summertime. I don't know where y'all live, but Christmas was 75 degrees where I'm at. So we gotta really understand that this is a this is a metaphysical construct. We don't wanna go through this life thinking that, there's another world happening, or there's other realities that's happening. Now, on the astral part, I'm actually going to go through and explain these other worlds. Matter of fact, I got time tonight, so let's do that now, shall we? Salutes to everybody, man. Make sure y'all hit the like button. I'm gonna go a little deep with y'all, man. I know I've been away for a while, but we here now, so let's get it. All right. So these different worlds, right? I'm gonna break this down. I call it the shells of the cells because to me, and this is my opinion, these are the only other worlds that exist, right? So we have in our physical dimensions, we have our physical body and we have a body double, you know, and I'm gonna be able to bring clarity with what I'm saying. When you see your shadow walking, your shadow is from your body double. This is from your etheric body. Okay. Your etheric body would be your would be your body double, but it's an ethereal body. Okay, it's connected to the ether. This is what connects us to the ether. We store thoughts and feelings and dreams and stuff inside of these other bodies. But I'm gonna break them down for you all tonight. So your etheric body is after your physical body. Then you have your astral body. Now, these are the dimensions. So once we get to the astral body, this is the third dimension. Your first dimension would be your physical body. Your second dimension would be your etheric body. Now, your third dimension will be your astral body. Now, you can feel with your ethereal body, but your astral body is actually like where you have dreams and visions and things of that nature. So in the astral realm, we're able to take a collection of the things that's happening in all of our other bodies, right? In your physical body, you may watch a movie or something may happen to you. You probably had a family member who passed away or something like that. They may visit you, in your etheric body. We hold um feelings inside of our etheric body. This is where our senses kick in, from the physical body to the etheric body. We got things like sight, touch, sound, taste. This is where we're able to make a connection to our etheric body, the ether that's around us. Now, in your astral body is where we're able to have a collection of all of our other worlds. These are the other worlds. There is no other physical worlds. These are the other worlds. These are the other yous, but they're here with you right now. There's just 7 shelves of the cells. These are the echoes of the ego. So after your astral body, you have your conscious mind. Your conscious mind makes conscious decisions. This is your assertiveness, um, your extrovert patterns, to where you're able to grasp the concepts of the things around you and 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 connect with them. Okay, your conscious mind. This is where your intelligence lies. How can what your problem solving lies. And then you have your subconscious mind. Now, your subconscious mind is where you take into all of the things that you see, all of the things that you know. And a mathematical equation is playing out inside of your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is where it's what's being imprinted. So this is why you hear a song so much that you start to like it. This is why you can see the colors on a McDonald's sign and get hungry, because these things have been implanted inside of your subconscious mind. Yes, yes, sister. And then now we go to our super subconscious mind. Our super subconscious mind has a little bit more deep embedded roots. These are where things like the Akashic records will be stored. But we would have to be um knowledgeable of these other dimensions that I mentioned before, that we can understand our subconscious mind, because all of these are steps and ladders to get to your lastly, which is the soul. Salutes to Charlie. Salute my brother Charlie, which is the soul. Okay. And these are these other worlds that exist. These are the other yous that exist. Because oftentimes we're not knowledgeable about these type of about what I'm talking about here. So we'll go see a psychotherapist. I call that fool the rapist. That's what I call that motherfucker. Because they teach you to think outside of the box. And if they would have told you to think inside of the box and know thyself, then we would not need all these external things. But once again, we're dealing with those who have an external hard drive because they do not possess an internal hard drive. So they want to sell you out on purchasing a external hard drive and letting your internal hard drive run on autopilot. They've given you a script. It's like a CD they play over and over, and they give you that CD for you to play on yourself so you can run on autopilot. That shit's keeping us away from being compatible with life and nature. This is why we feel like we trapped inside of this matrix system. It's all a figment of your imagination. That's all it is. You know, all of these different bodies are just components of the physical body. These are the different shells of the cells. These are the different dimensions of the cells. I think there's a CIA operation in place to keep people from this type of information. We have misplaced anxieties among children because they don't understand that they are harboring things inside of their etheric bodies and their subconscious mind. People don't know how to deal with feelings and emotions because they're not knowledgeable about their etheric body double or their astral body or their conscious mind, their subconscious mind, they super subconscious mind, and they soul. See, we had knowledge back in the day. And when I say we, I'm not just speaking about black people, all those with souls. This is a spiritual war. It's the battle of the soul and the soulless. That's why they called us soul brother number one. We grasped the concept. We knew to balance mind, body, and soul. We knew this. This was something that we knew. We didn't get into all this new age thinking and new ways of thinking. Right? Now, they say that the matrix is controlled by sentient machines. I'm saying that the matrix is controlled by your agreements with the matrix. Because if the motherfuckers who run the matrix would be able to control something, they wouldn't need your consent to do so. They wouldn't need to implant this shit inside of your subconscious mind because they don't possess light. They get their light from your insight. Right? You know, with the key programs of the architect, you know, the creator or the designer managing this, while the analyst takes over in later versions. Why? Because they've given us the script, all ultimately serving this matrix machine's mainframe. But it got to be Neo, the one who holds the source code and the ability to manipulate it. And the way that you hold the ability to manipulate it is realizing that these are dimensions of your mind. Don't be tricked. Don't be swayed into thinking that this shit is real. But when you choose to be Neo, when you choose to be the one, that's going to lead you to conflict with rogue elements like Agent Smith because we have those. Now we have those who sell out. They don't really care about others because they sold out for their position inside of this matrix system. But then we have those who buy in. We have those who buy in, and the people who buy in are miserable about buying in, but they say, hey, what else should we do? So when they spot the one, they're all agents. See, one thing I learned about living in the matrix, everybody's a fucking agent. Everybody who's not trying to get out of the matrix system is an agent. This causes conflict. When you are a thinker, when you are a questioner, when you are an observer, when you try to implicate ways to wake up the people, to wake them up and bring them out of the matrix system, when you trying to find a way out, you are the problem because you're off script. Shout out to everybody. Much love and respect. Hit that like button, please hit the like button. And if you're enjoying the stream tonight, please support the channel. I appreciate y'all all the time. Make sure you share the video so we can get back in the algorithm. Now, this architect is, we're talking about the architect. We're talking about who many call God. The cold, logical designer of the matrix, responsible for its fundamental code and stability. You know what I'm saying? Seeing humans as a anomaly, an integral monopoly to manage. You know what I'm saying? That's what people think about the designer of the matrix. And once again, if we're talking computer language here. Now, you have people who become what they call oracles inside of this matrix system. These are they run on a more intuitive program. These are people who understand human emotion and working with the architect to create the illusion of choice. This is essential for the matrix function. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just like when I was talking about those people who are trying to find a comfortable position inside of the matrix system. It's still essential for the matrix function, because the more money you get, you think the money's making you free. When they print the money, they just giving you more and make shit cost more. You understand what I'm saying? Now, when you analyzing this thing, the ruler of the newer matrix is a successor to the architect. So there's a lot of people on earth right now, the powers that be are so-called playing God. You understand what I'm saying? And they are enforcing the script and reprogramming the program, driving us toward a new world order agenda. This is gonna make us even more slaves than we are now, for the simple fact that they're going to be able to surveillance us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we're on the brink of that right now. We're on the brink of that right now. This is what's happening in society. So while we're arguing about left wing, while we're arguing about right wing, these people are simply in the back making plans to push us further into the future of their destiny. We're helping them manifest their destiny. All of these things are distractions. Distractions. Now, people are being made into machines, and that's these people who are buying in, and that's these people who are selling out. And these are the people who primarily run the show. This is actually a prison, this invisible construct that I'm speaking of, because it's all just a figment of the imagination. But once we're all running on the same program, we tend to imagine the same thing. And that's what guides the inmates, us, because that's what makes this a prison. us being inside of the matrix system. It's this false doctrine and this false concept that holds us in the matrix, right? And like I keep saying, and I'm going to say it again, as long as we uphold the policies to protect the structure of this matrix system, we will be inside of this matrix system. Now, there's rules in the matrix system. We have laws, we have commutative law, we have associative law, we have distributive law, and distributive law of scalars over a matrix. We have these different rules, should I call them. Now, how do we escape the matrix? This is the only way that I could tell you guys how to escape the matrix. It's going to involve developing self-awareness, critical thinking, and authenticity by questioning reality, shedding external influences. And these external influences include things like social media, debt cycles, dogma, embracing learning and growth and focusing on genuine fulfillment over digital distractions or societal norms. Because society is pushing further towards technology. We think it's cool. So we appeal to what seems to be cool, and we are all fixated on being comfortable. So even if it makes us sick, it's more convenient. So we tend to do what's convenient because the powers that be have a very organized and very effective way of keeping us occupied. A lot of people are tied into the rat race of work, family life. You got to work so many hours out of the day. See, the biggest trick that they ever told us, the biggest lie, was that there's 24 hours in a day. If it's 24 hours in a day, then when the fuck is it nighttime? When is it nighttime if it's 24 hours in a day? It ain't but 12 hours in a day. So if they got you working 8 hours out of your day, the day gone. The day is gone. So by them being able to occupy our time, that would lead us to survival mode. Because after our time has been occupied and we've been threatened by debt cycles, they just threaten us with the food stamp thing. There's always a threat coming from the sky to keep us in fear. And they get a chemical that's released from us when we're talking about them ciphering energy. It's called lupus. So every time we get scared, every time we're in fear or doubtful, chemicals created called lupus, and they feed off of that. That's what lets them know that their plan is working and they're still on the path to manifesting their destiny. And some of these key steps to escaping this matrix system is going to include meditating, reading, learning new skills, challenging assumptions, and fostering your emotional intelligence. You got to see past the manufactured realities and live more intentionally. You got to question everything. You got to challenge your own beliefs. You got to challenge societal norms and mainstream narratives. You got to develop self-awareness. You got to observe your emotions. You got to be able to check yourself before you wreck yourself without an attachment to counter fear and anxiety. You got to embrace learning. You got to adapt a mindset of continuous growth and value uncertainty over false certainty. I'm going to say that again. We have to adapt a mindset of continuous growth and value uncertainty over false certainty. We got to know the difference between what's real and what's fake. So if we can read and meditate, engage with diverse perspectives, um, you know, see, we get things like fiction, philosophy, scriptures. You know what I'm saying? We got to be able to take that and practice mindfulness when it comes to these things because there's a dual side to it all. We got to reduce this digital jump, minimize the time on social media and other urgent, unimportant digital activities to be able to be more compatible with life and nature. We got to go outside in nature. We need fresh air. We need sunlight. We need natural food. They advertise chili cheese fries and all that stuff that sound good and look good and it tastes good, but it's not good for us. We have to do those type of things in moderation. Yes, sir. Energy vampires. We have to do these things in moderation because it is the way of the world, but it's not the way for us because we in this world and we not of this world. Seeking that authentic experiences, like I was just saying, travel, learn new languages, you know, do it without AI, so you can have um human intelligence and not artificial intelligence. Do meaningful projects, read books, think for yourself, avoid blindly following the crowd or societal constructs like religion and nationalism, because those are all just different directions to the same destination. You got to build real skills, focus on tangible skills, learn how to build houses, learn how to grow food, you know, learn those type of things. You understand what I'm saying? Um, Now, when it comes to financial and systematic freedom, that just goes along with us, trying to be more compatible with life and nature and not being so extravagant. The more money we make, the more money we spend. And we should be able to be more comfortable with just having enough food to eat. Be able to be more comfortable with just having a living space that's just big enough for us and our families to be comfortable. Stop buying the new things that they advertising on TV just to try them and start building our own self-worth. See, once we start to do those type of things, we we if we figure out something to call ourselves, so we just gonna have a new name, but our actions ain't gonna change. So until we start to tackle these things like self-awareness, questioning everything, and checking ourselves and building on ourselves, that we got to do the internal work first. You know, that's why I don't mind when people say what people call us and all that. They don't call us Black African Americans. They say, oh, well, we should be all called Indians. So now we just gonna be some ignorant ass Indians now. Now we ain't gonna be them ignorant ass niggas or African Americans and shit no more. Come on, man. Once we start moving with dignity and pride and self-awareness, that's gonna speak for itself. That's how you recognize as the chosen people. A name don't mean you chosen. A name don't mean nothing. We gotta recognize this system. We gotta understand how conventional paths, we got debt, we got jobs, we got mortgages, can keep you trapped. That's what it was designed for. Because we're inside of a construct that's made to trap you. You got to think about it. Corporations. We're inside of a corporation. We're trapped to death when it comes to things like jobs and mortgages and shit like that. Is it mighty funny that all of these names have a ringing of death to it? You got to create your own path. You got to seek alternative ways to build wealth and independence, such as entrepreneurship. And that's what you do with your online ventures. You know, a lot of our people want to be entertained because they're comfortable with their work life. So after work, they want to be entertained. But if you're just working for someone else and then looking for entertainment, then go to sleep and wake up and do the same thing the next day, then we're just basically just keeping this construct alive. We're empowering the construct of this matrix system. So we got to think differently. Now, in spiritual meaning, this is, the allegory for spiritual awakening, questioning reality. This illusion, the ego. The ego is what keeps us wanting to excel inside of this matrix system because everyone else is excelling inside of this matrix system. This is why a lot of people chase titles and statuses so that they can get a predetermined social status out of their status or their title, rather than them showing the qualities or the characteristics of the title or the status or the position. They seek it through validation of the title itself. This is spiritual warfare, people. You know, people looking for liberation through themes of choice. They tell you to display Christ-like behavior. But what's a Christ for them and what's a Christ for you? The Christ for us will be breaking free from these systems of control to find truth and self-realization. You got to draw the parallels. You know, like I said, a lot of these religions are just different routes to the same destination. That's all it is. Now, the matrix itself, like I said, it represents this illusionary world of sensory perception where people are trapped by false beliefs. You know, uh, the Gnostics have a idea of a material prison, but it's all in the mind. So once we can get these concepts under control, that they're not physical, that they're all mental, we can realize that it's something that we have to work on within self. But a lot of people think working on self is get more money or get more degrees. That's not working on self. Working on self is being a better person. Working on self is showing charity to others. Working on self is self-awareness, knowing what's going to work for you and your family. So you can be in this matrix system, but not of this matrix system. Because they only got one agenda. That's to push forth for a new world order and to make us their highest extension of slaves that we could possibly be. Now, this new world order agenda that they're pushing upon us is going to be a true police state. Iran just declared war with the U.S., and I know many people haven't heard of it. They want to keep it out of the news. We've been dropping bombs. It's been full-fledged war this past week. Notice there are no troops on the ground in these countries. All the troops are on U.S. soil, policing the people. We're not only going toward New World Order, but martial law has been implemented right under our nose, and we don't even know it. We don't even know it. Salutes to everybody. I know I didn't drop the link because I had more to go into, but I will drop the link. Shout out to everybody. I'm happy to be back. I did need somewhat of a break, I will allow for the panel to open. But yeah, I really want to kind of shatter that belief of different physical worlds, and it is, but it's all in the mind. See, we starting to think that the CERN machine got a lot to do with the D stream theory. It does, but at the same time, if we could set in our mind, if we could get back to a balance in our mind, body, soul aspect, then we wouldn't even have to worry about no CERN machine. We got to stop participating. We participate in everything. There's so many people voting. There's so many people trying to create situations to where about voting, all of this is just empowering the system. But we got to learn to empower ourselves. Yes, Sister Katrina, I'm happy to be back. Now, in this matrix system, we got to know that this system discourages the things that I'm talking about. It discourages questioning reality. It discourages self-awareness. This is why the new entertainment is other people's business. They keep you locked in and tuned in on something rather than locking in and tuning in on yourself and being able to see reality changing right around you. They've mastered this. They've mastered this. If the light that you possess, once they get you to focus on the outside reality, by default, you give up your internal light. When you focus your internal light on outside realities, then you by default give in you give your internal light for external aspects, which this is something that us who possess souls don't have to do. So this is how they're energy harvesting, energy vampires, like my brother P. Moses say. The only way for someone to enter is for you to allow. So that's why I said we got to start participating. Now, another question was, does AI control the matrix? That's the mind-blowing concept behind the matrix. But it's not like pixels and controllers. The program is run by super intelligent so-called machines called AI. It's just like okay, yeah, and just like um you know this computer system that's set up, we think this the first forms of AI. The first forms of artificial intelligence were ideas and concepts. See, we just looking at these ideas and concepts on a computer screen. But before there were computers, these ideas and concepts were implanted inside of your subconscious mind. The first computer is the mind. So that's why these things are being played out right now. You understand what I'm saying? And it's still all coding. It's still all zeros and ones. But we're looking at this thing from a dimensional aspect, from a metaphysical aspect, and then to a technological aspect. So these are two different things when we're talking about the computer and when we're talking about the aspects of the mind. Now, we can't look for the computer to lead us because that will place our mind behind the computer. And why would we do that when the computer was made, created, and designed to run the same way as the mind? This is why the internet was called the Ethernet, because we were able to have telekinesis. We were able to connect mentally and spiritually before we had all of these distractions. So the internet is not nothing that was created. They're ciphering energy from the ether, the Ethernet. We had Ethernet cords at first. But once they knew this age of awakening was coming, and once they knew that we would know what the ether was, then they knew that we would figure this out. They knew that these things would be figured out. So they stopped calling it the Ethernet and they started calling it the internet, because they've already got us on their grid. They got us on their web. They created a web within the ether, and that's the internet now. Oh yeah. Now I did put the link out, but if nobody's gonna join, I'm just gonna keep chopping it up a little bit about this matrix system. See, one thing that bothers me is a lot of us seem to not know if we're going to have the time, so that's why it's very important um, for us to start to save and not to continue to engage, because they know how to give us money to make us feel a certain type of way, and then they know how to present things once we got money to make us spend our money. It's just like Christmas time. It's a cycle. Every year it's a cycle. You know, we work hard, we save our money. Christmas time come, we spend all our money because it's been psychologically stamped that if the kids don't get no presents for Christmas, you're a bad parent. Or a bad uncle, or a bad auntie, or a bad grandma, or a bad grandpa. And after they do that, they let 2 months pass, and then they give you your income tax, even though you taxed on your money 3 times. They tax your money while you making it. They tax your money on tax time, and then you taxed on your money every time you go to the store to buy something. Then you taxed again on the property that you got. So if you got a car, you got to pay taxes on it if you own your car. If you got a house, you got to pay taxes on it. So we never really own nothing inside of this corporation, because the terms of the contract is to death. Anytime you register anything to this matrix system, you're basically handing it over to the matrix system, because our children are not educated enough to know how to gain all of our possessions after death. We came into this construct debt free, but we don't know that. We're just so used to signing the birth certificate, accepting our social security number, and just living and empowering this matrix system, not knowing that we are sovereign gods. But when you agree to the terms of this construct, the matrix system, you agree to being a slave for the matrix system. Why? Because there are already people at the top of the matrix system. There are already people at the top of the matrix system. I told you it's a pyramid scheme. It's a Ponzi scheme. This type of knowledge of commerce and capitalism was passed down by the Egyptians. It was spread all over the world. That's how these people were able to travel and conquer the whole world, by using business, politics, and religion. Not only did they divide us by business, politics, and religion, they divided us by gangs. They divided us by geological location. And since all of these constructs have been birthed into our atmosphere, we now divide ourselves on individual concepts. And this is the battle of Armageddon. There's nothing physical in this universe. Uni means one verse. This is the only universe that exists. And that's kind of ironic for me to be saying that this is the only one verse that exists. All other planes of existence and dimensions exist inside of the mind. So we have to be self-aware and align these dimensions in our mind for us to be compatible with life and nature. And salutes to everybody, man. Much love and respect to y'all. Shout out to everybody out there. I see y'all. I did want to come back and bring this presentation. I will be here on Saturday, bringing another um, show coming up this Saturday. The Upside Down World Exposed. I'm gonna go more into what this corporation is. We're gonna be breaking down corporations, business, money, sovereignty, and all of those type of things. So salutes to everybody, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all support the stream. They did cut all of my payments on all platforms, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, um, Instagram, but I'm not gonna let that discourage me. I'm going to continue to do work. I just won't be going live just to go live. I'm gonna make sure that I bring you guys valuable information. I appreciate all the love. I appreciate all the support, and we're gonna keep it going, man. Salutes to everybody. Shout out to y'all. Much love and respect. Hey, man. Till next time. Peace and power, man. I'll see y'all in a minute. Salute.